Potty Bigger Mouth, the show that will make you laugh, cry, and question whether or not me, Kelsey Belcher, your host, should be allowed on the internet. Don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe to 216 Creator Studios. Check out the live tab to see all of our new videos and content. It's not just me here. It's plenty of people who have awesome podcasts, so make sure you go check them out. So today is our Valentine's Day special, which is fire because Valentine's Day fucking sucks. When you are single and you are like in the dating realm of this century and everything's online and everything's terrifying and horrible, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to dive in. Valentine's Day, let's just talk about that. Let's start off. It's a Hallmark fucking holiday, okay? You literally, it's so stupid. Like, you should, like, obviously people say, like, oh, you should cherish your love, like, all the time. And, like, you should. Like, it isn't just one stupid fucking day. And then there's all this pressure on people who are single to, like, not do something and to feel even lonelier than they are. And it's fucking stupid. But Valentine's Day is February 13th. So make sure you grab your girls, get some liquor, and party it up. Because who cares about being with someone anyway, to be honest. But last episode, I asked you guys to submit some of your crazy dating experiences, and we are going to go through them right now. They're on my phone, so, you know. All of these are going to be anonymous, and I'm not going to say who sent them in because that's kind of embarrassing and, you know, whatever. So, okay, this is the first one. All right, this first submission says, when I went to university, I slept with this guy. We're going to call him M. I stopped seeing M because I found out he was a huge narcissist and thought every woman was begging to sleep with him. I ended up starting a situationship with one of his friends that we'll call A. A and I had been seeing each other for about a month, and one night, M bursted into A's room while A was wasted and was screaming at me because he was mad and I didn't want to sleep with him. One of the roommates got him out of the house, and M proceeded to scream at the top of his lungs while pounding on A's bedroom window. I took a long break from guys after that. Wow. Girl, yeah, I would too. Like the fact that M came back and was like, you don't want to sleep with me, and threw a fucking tantrum. A temper tantrum is crazy. Okay. So we're going to read the second one last because that one's good. All right. So here's our third submission. I just watched your podcast and I have an embarrassing date. Thank you for the view on my last one. I was at a sushi restaurant one time, and my ex and I had never had sushi before, I had had no fucking clue what wasabi was, and my girlfriend at the time told me to eat the clump that they give you on the plate, and I did. Bitch, I totally ate the entire clump of wasabi and almost died. Girl, like, you can't tell from the smell? Like, the smell is, like, spicy. Like, why would you do that? Okay, whatever. This one's pretty long, but it's a goodie, so let's see. Okay. So, this is our fourth submission. So I was hot off my heels of a 3-year relationship. I was hanging out a lot with this girl I had met 3 months prior to this. We'll call her Brittany. I don't want to use her real name for the pod. Brittany had this friend whose birthday was a couple days away from hers. We'll call him Michael. So she had planned to go to a bar with Michael and his friends to all celebrate their birthdays. Since I was already with Brittany, she invited me to come along. So just to preface, I was on Tinder making horrible decisions, and I happened to have accidentally super liked this guy we'll call Gary. Gary super likes me as well and starts a chat with me, and everything was super innocent. We talked about our common interests in movies, music, and hobbies. You know, the usual small talk stuff. So I figured he'd seemed like a nice enough guy, and Brittany and I had the idea to have him come out to the bar with everybody. A group setting seemed ideal for this at this point, so I asked him and he was down. It was short notice, so I wasn't expecting much. I told him we wouldn't be getting to the bar for another hour or two because we were waiting on one of our other friends to carpool. He said that's fine, but heads over to the bar a good hour before we get there anyway. Brittany's friend Michael and his group of friends, who they were all celebrating their birthdays with, had already been at the bar before Gary even showed up. According to Michael, Gary sat at the bar by himself, slammed 4 beers over the course of an hour while they tried to get his attention to come hang out so he wouldn't be alone. Once we got there, I met up with Gary, who seemed almost too awkward for his own good, but nice nonetheless. I didn't realize he was drunk already. I introduced him to Brittany and Michael and his group of friends, and things were going all right. Then Michael suggests all the guys play some pool together. Gary agrees, steps up to take his turn. Every time he got there, he whiffed so hard and couldn't even hit the ball. He also had to ask if he was solid or stripes every time he went up to play. The secondhand embarrassment from me was wild. So I went out to my friend's car to smoke for a minute, and after they were done, all of a sudden my friend pats me on the shoulder and goes, "Yo, is that your boy?" I look up and I see Gary stumble out of the bar and fall in the parking lot and puke everywhere. I get out and run to him and rub his back while he's puking. Michael and his friends see this and run out to us and ask if we need anything. Once they go back inside, Gary turns around, stands up, and says, "Julia?" Which Julia's not this girl's name, first of all, and proceeds to try and kiss me with his puke mouth after calling me the wrong name. So Michael and his friend bring us water and napkins when all of a sudden some random dude in a puffer vest just appears. Asks Gary, "Hey dude, you want a bump?" I start explaining that he is in no shape to answer for himself right now, and he doesn't need a bump. And before I can finish my sentence, Gary says, "Yeah, I'll take one." I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. And from that moment on, it was so over. He stood up outside the bar for at least 30 minutes doing I don't even know how much blow, but when he came back in, dude was nonverbal. Then he crashed hard as hell on at my friend's house. Then we went to another bar after. He Ubered home in the morning. He snapped me the next few days asking me, "I had a nice time. Did I do something? Did I do something wrong?" And I just didn't even know what to say. Girl, yes, Gary, you did something wrong. Like, the fact that, okay, so first he's like playing the poor me, like, "Am I salad or stripes?" Not like poor me, but like acting stupid. He's already belligerently drunk by the time she shows up. He pukes and falls down in the parking lot, calls her the wrong name, tries to kiss her, and then does so much blow that he passes out at her friend's house. Girl, the fact that half of these submissions are just girls talking about these crazy ass men should tell you something. Sorry, but it is. Sorry to my like 4 male viewers, but it's the truth. So here's the last submission. And then we'll go on to some of my crazy Tinder DMs, and then we'll get into some stories, which is everybody's favorite. So, my friend DMs me and says, "So I totally give you names what my ex did because he deserves it, but I won't. Here's a bunch of things that some of my ex-boyfriends have done that I still stayed with them. 1. One of my exes told me I should continue starving myself so I can look like an Instagram model." We needed a moment of silence. That's ridiculous. 2, my ex was going through his Snap while we were eating dinner with his family. His girl best friend sent him nudes. He shows it to me and goes, "This is what you should look like," and casually goes back to eating his dinner. Dude, what the fuck? 3, I had a girl message me at 3 a.m. one night telling me she found my man on Tinder. So obviously I asked him, "What the fuck are you doing on Tinder when you're dating me?" His excuse was, "Oh, I was trying to delete the app." So I said, "Did you delete it then?" He goes, "Nope, couldn't figure out how to." You fucking idiot. Like, you're lying. And then number 4, which is super crazy, girl. I can't. One of my exes cheated on me at a party in front of me and still tried to deny it. And I stayed. Y'all, like, I hope BetterHelp sponsors these videos. That therapy service, I hope BetterHelp sponsors these videos for the sake of my viewers, because y'all are unhinged. Girl, okay. So that was all of our submissions. Thank you for the people who submitted them. I'm so sorry that all of this happened. That's terrible. I hate people. And yeah. So now I'll go through some of my Tinder DMs later. We'll wait near the end. So I want to talk about some more crazy date experiences that I have because you know what? I thought I'd lighten the mood. We're all alone on this Valentine's Day, probably, because if you're watching me at noon, you're definitely not hooking up and eating chocolates, are you? But that's okay. We get to celebrate together. So, we're going to call this guy, this is the new Ted Bundy, okay? So, this is how this story starts. I matched with this guy on Tinder, okay? We're going to call him T for Ted Bundy. And so we match on Tinder, okay? And a few days later, this was years ago, okay? I was probably like freshly 18 at this time, and I'm gonna be 22 this year. So this was a long time ago. So I matched with this guy on Tinder. He's like, hey, like, do you want to hang out? Like a few days later. And I was like, okay. He's like, let's meet in the Walmart parking lot. Okay. And that should have been my like first ding of like, this guy's fucking crazy. Why are you doing that? So I was stupid, didn't care, thought he was kind of cute, went to the Walmart parking lot. So we're sitting there and he pulls up in this like jank car. Like this car, like if a car guy saw it, they'd be like, oh, that's sick. If people with eyes saw it that weren't into cars, they'd be like, that looks like a heap of shit. And it had like gold plated wheels. Like, ew, like how old are you? Like, why do you have gold plated wheels? And it was literally like a black Saturn from like 1960. Like, it was ridiculous. And so he was like older than me too. He was probably like 24, 25. And it's also like, why are you going out with a girl who just turned 18? Also, another red flag. So we get to the Walmart parking lot and I pull up in my little Nissan, roll down the window and he's like, hey, and by like, mind you, his picture, he looked a lot worse than his picture. But I was like, fuck it, why not? Maybe he's nice. So he's like, oh, do you want to like get in my car? And I was like, for what? And he's like, we can like take a drive. And I'm like, okay. Pulls out a bottle of Jack Daniel's honey whiskey and goes, you want a swig? And I go, it's 5 p.m. on like a Monday night. No, I don't want a swig of that. And he goes, suit yourself. Doof, doof, doof. And I'm like, you're our driver. But okay. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay. I'm like weighing in my options. I'm like, what? How do I get out of this terrible date? So I text someone I used to be friends with and I was like, hey, can you like call me and like pretend to be crying that you like need me and that I can like get the hell out of this situation? He's like, yeah. So he calls me and he's like, oh my God, I'm like getting sent back to rehab. I like need you. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to go, like take me back. And mind you, we were like, and if you know the town that we live in, I'm not going to disclose that, but there is a Walmart and then you like literally like come out of the intersection and there's like a Dunkin' right there. And it's like across the street from like a TJ Maxx and all that. That's how far we got for me to already want to turn back around to the Walmart. And that's like 0.2 miles. Like, I don't even think it's 0.2. It's like 0.75. Like, it's right there. And so he's like, oh, are you sure you have to go? And I'm like, I'm 1010 fucking percent sure I have to go. So I get in my car, I leave, and I'm like, okay, this guy's like a whack job. Flash forward, okay, to Halloween that year. And at this point, this was like early, like spring maybe, and it's Halloween. So I'm with my friends, and we're at this Halloween party, and I was with my coworkers at the time. My one coworker brings her neighbor, and they were like older than me, and they got invited to this like crazy fun Halloween party, and they're like, Kelsey, you're coming with us. And I'm like, okay, bet. So I get in the car, we go to this Halloween party, and you're probably like, what does this have to do with the guy? Just wait. So I walk in the house, and at this point I'm 18, and everyone there is like 26 and above. And they're like, oh, is she 21? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm 21. No, the fuck, I wasn't 21. But we get downstairs and I turn and I see this guy. And I'm like, why does he look familiar? Who do you think it is, girl? It was him. It was T. So I'm literally like, shut up right now. And then he's with this sexy guy who we'll call him D. So he's with the sexy guy, and I'm like, ooh, like, who's that? So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna talk to T to get in with D. And maybe he's not a crackpot. So I go over there and I'm like, do I know you? And he's like, oh my God, like, hey, Kelsey, like, how have you been? And I'm like, oh, like, I'm good. And then D's like, who's this? And I'm like, oh, I'm Kelsey, like, whatever. And it's Halloween. So you already know I was dressed like a skank. So I'm like talking to D and he's like, oh yeah, I'm like in this band and we like totally rock. And I was like, really? And I was like, I've heard of you. Girl, I haven't heard of his stupid ass band. Like, but I was trying to get it in. And then I overheard D pull over T to the side and he's like, that girl is not 18. Like, there's no way she's 18 or 21. Like, she's underage. And first of all, okay, yeah, I'm young and youthful looking, but I don't look like I'm in high school, bro. So he's like not interested, whatever. T brings me to this guy's car outside and he's like, oh, like, I'm like, did you get a new car? He's like, no, this isn't my car. And we're like sitting like in this guy's car. Like, and I'm like, what are we doing in somebody else's car? And so he's like, well, I just want to show you because it's cool. Mind you, it was also a heap of shit. Like, I don't know what this guy saw in cars, but they all sucked. And so I was like, okay. So then I like got a little too drunky and I was like, why don't you like come home with me? And he's like, I don't think I should do that. You're like really drunk. And I'm like, yep, I am really drunk. Maybe that's not a good idea. So he doesn't come with, whatever. And then he hits me up like a couple weeks after Halloween. And then he's like, hey, like, let's hook up. And I was like, hey, okay. So my car wasn't working. So my friend let me borrow their car. And it was like a big, like, Tahoe kind of like car, one you could get down in. My mom and dad, if you're like watching this part, like, please skip over like 10 minutes. Like, I can't have you hear this part. So we're in the car, whatever. We like make out, hook up. I don't remember if we like fully hooked up or just like did whatever. And then afterward, we're like just sitting in the car and where we decide to do this was like in a neighborhood that was like across the street from my childhood home and they were like building new houses. So it was all like covered. And so we get there and there's like a big trash can, like a really big trash can. And all of a sudden, this Ted Bundy ass dude looks at me and goes, wouldn't it be crazy if I like totally killed you, threw your body in there, and then burned the evidence? I swear to God, this happened. And I literally was like, that would be crazy. Let's go. Like, and I picked him up. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do I do? And so I just was like, yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be totally crazy. Dropped him off, blacked him, never saw him again. Thank God. But it was like out of nowhere. Like, he was like kind of creepy, but he like never gave me like really crazy creepy vibes until that time. And then I was like, this is what happens when you online date as a freshly 18-year-old and you talk to guys who are like 25. This is what happens. And yeah, that's the story of Ted Bundy, the new Ted Bundy. If he ended up having a documentary about him, I would not doubt it. I would be like, yup, I would be a star witness. They'd call me in to be in it. And I'd be like, yeah, he did say that crazy shit. He did. But I'm trying to think if there's a lot of...
I want to throw in a comment here real quick.
Please do, Drew.
And excuse me, folks, Cappuccino here, 21.6 Creator Studios, producing for Kelsey Belcher. So I wanted to throw out there, I love how you put, was trying to push away the T to get to the D.
Yeah, God, I didn't even realize
that was awesome. But yeah, so, listen, folks, you got to be careful out there because you never know who you're coming across. And, it's a red flag when people talk about doing things like that. But 9 times out of 10, people don't talk like that. They just do it, the real ones.
That's super true.
So just got to be careful out there. But I love the story, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I remember going back to my friend's house after that and telling them that story, and they were like, shut the fuck up. They're like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, it literally did happen. They're like, I can't believe I'm looking at you right now. And I'm like, I know. Yeah. Funny story. I think I don't remember if I like blocked him on Tinder or his number, but I kept him on one platform. I think it may have been Tinder, and I like forgot to unadd him on there. And he like messaged me, was like, "Oh, like did something happen? Like I wanted to like keep seeing you." And I'm like, "Girl, you wanted to see me not breathing. Like you did not want to keep seeing me, bro." And so I was like, "That's not happening." But I'm trying to think if there's like any like super crazy date stories that I like had recently. A lot of them have been just like a lot of what happens to me, and I don't know if it's because like, oh, actually, hold on. Before I get into that, I do have one crazy date story from recently. So, this isn't really a date story because it never ended up continuing to happen. But basically, this guy adds me on Snapchat, and he's like from around where I'm from. I don't know if he did like Snapchat like near me or whatever. He adds me. He's like cute. He's Snapchatting me. I'm Snapchatting him, whatever. And he's like, "Do you want to hang out?" And I'm like, just met you, but like, what do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, like, well, you look familiar. I don't know if we like went to like college together. Like, I'll come like pick you up." And I was like, and I was feeling stupid and lonely and kind of horny. So I was like, okay, whatever. So he comes to my house, and I live in an apartment building, and there's like, it's like a parking lot that everyone like parks in. And I walk out, and he's like, "I'm here." And I'm like, I don't like see him. So he's like, "No, like I'm near the back of the parking lot." I walk toward his car. I look at him. He looks at me, puts his car in drive, and drives away. Talk about a humbling moment. I was sitting there. I literally was standing there, like bug eyed, mouth open, like that did not just happen to me. And it did. And he was fucking ugly anyway, so whatever. But I just thought I'd give him a shot. Maybe he was nice, but I guess he didn't fuck with a chubby. And that's kind of ridiculous. But what I was going to say is there's a lot of times that a date will go, like really decent. And or like we like kind of like, I felt a connection. I liked him. I saw him, like we spent a long time together, and then they just end up ghosting me. And I don't know if it's like, and I don't want to do the whole like, feel bad for me, I'm fat, because that's not what we promote here. I want to promote confidence and loving yourself no matter the size, and playing on your strengths and what it means to be plus size and to be yourself. And I don't know if they just like are shocked, like, and they like don't like how I look, but they like want to hang out. I don't know. And that's like a really upsetting moment when you like go on a date and you're like, you went really well. Like you're telling your friends about him. You're like, I had so much fun. And you go on Snapchat and you see a little gray X, or you see a gray arrow, or you see that they blocked you. And you're like, what? And then you're sitting there asking yourself, like, what did I do wrong? And a lot of the times you did nothing wrong. If they're not going to, if they don't want to be with you, that's a plus for you, because then you aren't like, you don't have to deal with someone who's fake, and you don't have to deal with someone who really doesn't want you and is just being around you because they're bored or they're horny. Like you deserve someone who wants to be with you, who wants to have your time. And why would anybody want someone that doesn't want them? Like, and that's something that I've had to learn and had to like teach myself, is if they don't want you, you don't want them. You shouldn't want them. Because why would you want to put up with someone who doesn't really value you and like you as a person? You're just a number on a roster. Nobody wants that. Like, I don't want that. I want to be loved, valued, appreciated. Like, I don't want to be someone's second woman. I don't want to be someone's option. I don't want to be someone's hookup buddy. I want to be someone's person, not just a person to somebody. And it's hard to learn that. It's hard to learn that. And the reason I wanted to even do this Valentine's Day special is to talk about dating as someone who's plus size. And I don't know if any of my viewers have had to deal with that, but if you do, you know it sucks balls. Like, it's not easy. Like, you're already, this is how I look at it. Obviously, online dating is what's in the world right now. Not a lot of people aren't going to go to a coffee shop and meet the love of their life. That's just not how it is. Not when we have the internet, but what happens when you online date is, instead of just like dealing with, like, you're in high school and you're like, oh well, there's plenty of other girls he can like, now you're fighting with like 70 billion other people on this app, like competing to be with somebody. And then if one thing doesn't go good with somebody, oh okay, left swipe, you get to have another option. And it becomes this like addicting kind of thing where it's like one more swipe, one more match, one more guy to go out with, one more person to hook up with. This girl didn't work out, oh well, doesn't matter, I have another bitch in my phone. And then it's like, how do you date somebody seriously? How do you really go out with somebody and really build connections when you can swipe left and never talk to that person again and never be matched with them? And then it's like, how are people going to form real beneficial and like non-artificial relationships if like if it's so accessible to get to the next girl, to get to the next guy, to go on the next date? And it's nice to have all these options, but at the same time, it's like 9 times out of 10, if you talk to a guy from Tinder or Bumble or Facebook dating or whatever it is, you are not going to be the only girl he's talking to. Because ask yourself, is that the only guy you're talking to? Probably not. And it's like, it becomes a numbers game. I had a guy who I dated recently say to me, well, it's a numbers game. And I'm like, a numbers game? And I remember being like, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, if it doesn't work out, like, there's another one. And it's like, and at this point, we had gone on like 3 dates. So I'm like, what the fuck are you talking to me about some numbers game? And it was just like weird. Like, but he's right though. I mean, it is a numbers game. Like, if you're talking, it's like, I don't know, even the odds of it is like, if you're talking to 5 guys and one guy doesn't work out, you have 4 more. And then those 2 didn't work out. Okay, add 2 more. Like, it just, and it becomes this addicting, like, more attitude. And you're having less and less meaningful connections and meaningful love and sex and all of it. Then it just becomes like, oh, well, I did this, I can do it again. I did this, what about his friend? Like, and then it just becomes this like cycle that you're in, that you're like, the dating apps are never going to be deleted. Like, Hinge's like big like motto, or like whatever they're what they promote is like the dating app that's meant to be deleted. And it's like, okay, you can delete the app, but you have to go like another step to delete the profile. So it's like, a lot of people will delete the app and not the profile. And it's like, if it doesn't work, people hop on the app the next day. And it's like, how is that? Like, why are we doing online dating? Is what I want to know. Like, I hate it because it's like, and not only are you like having to deal with all these other people and having to deal with like the numbers game and like worried about seeing your man or your ex or whatever, like on the app through other people, it's it's kind of this thing where it's like, well, you're obviously just judging them on how they look. That's exactly what it is. It's like, it's playing a game of who's hot and who's not.
Well, on the app, to make it simple, you nailed it on the head. It's like a resume, right?
Yeah.
People will put whatever they want down to gain that traction,
Yeah.
and it's their best look of a
Right.
picture.
Yeah.
And 90% of it slides. Everybody wants to be somebody else when they're out there in the dating pool.
Right.
And so I'm going to show my age for a minute, but you're a lot younger than me. But back in the day, it was, you did meet that person in the coffee shop, or if you
Right.
ended up going to a bar, you might find somebody. But at your age, so the deal with men and women haven't changed. Men are a lot dumber than women. There's no question to it, and I'll tell you why.
Period.
Women are a little more complex, a little more complicated. They can multitask. That's why they're better leaders. You have a lot of fine tuning, right? Men are light switches. We're just feed us, fuck us, you know what I mean? And then whatever is to make you happy. You guys we fine tune emotions and dials.
Right.
And so when you're looking for the right one, and I guess this would be a good question for you, Kelsey, when you're looking for the right one and you're going on these dating apps, what keywords or what do you see in there that would either raise the red flag for you and or what would be like, I want to check this one out because they're outside the box by doing this?
Okay. Honestly, I've even fallen in the trap of playing who's hot or who's not, where I'm like, if this guy's sexy, I'm like, okay. But for red flag, I have like funny ones that are like if he's holding a fish or like a deer head, I'm like, ew. But I think red flags probably when like, I don't know, they have a lot of like shirtless pictures or of like ones with like the towel hanging low. Yeah. And it's like they're like smoldering. I'm like, okay, so you like obviously just want to fuck.
Right.
Like,
right. It's a hookup.
Right. Yeah. Like, and they'll even put in the description like DTF. And I'm like, okay, so like in the description too, if they have things that are like DTF, just hook up, or just got out of a relationship, seeing what's out there, or like just stuff like that, like those keywords really just turn me off. Like, unless that's what I'm like looking for, but like typically like I'll lie to myself and say like I'm looking for just something casual. When in reality, I've always had this like underlying feeling of I want to be loved and I want to be in a committed relationship. But then I settle for like the friends with benefits and I settle for hooking up because when I was younger, it was like a validation thing. Because it's like when I was in high school, it was like no guy in my town would be caught dead with a fat girl. Like there was like, I had guy friends who like will defend me to the day I die. Like they still like love me and appreciate me, but it wasn't ever like I'm interested in you.
You end up in the friend zone.
Yes, I end up in the friend zone. I end up just like, or guys like secretly hit me up after high school, but like in high school, I like hooked up with this one guy. And he ended up telling the whole school, like, she's a fat psycho bitch. She, like, made me, which was not true. He literally begged me, like this, on the ground to sleep with him. And he, like, started telling people, like, no, man, it wasn't like that. Like, because he didn't want to be looked at as, like, the guy who's, like, hooking up with that girl. Which, like, destroys my confidence. So then after high school, when I realized there are guys who want to hook up with me, then it's, or, like, find me interesting, then it's like, oh, if I hook up with them, they'll like me. If I hook up with them, they think I'm sexy. Which in turns is, oh, so I'm sexy because a man thinks so. And then it turns into this, like, spiral effect. And I think when something about like a guy on their profile that I like is when they're like funny, when they like have like a joke in there or like they have like a silly picture where it's like, it'll be them like on the floor of a bar or like something like that. Like just like funny, goofy pictures mixed with like, I'm looking for something serious or let me take you out on a date, let's meet for coffee. Like those keywords and bios are like, I love my mom. Like just like stuff like that makes me be like, I want to swipe right on this guy purely because of his online personality. But then you meet them and it's like you said, it's like you're putting your best foot forward. Like if dating apps were honest, half these people would not get a date.
No.
Like I was talking to my friend and I was like, what if we developed an app that was like a dating app, but you were able to like leave a review after the date?
Ooh,
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And then you get like a star rating. And then like in the like the people who like reply to you and leave a review, it's like people can like that comment and it's like the person can't take it down unless it's like defamation or like they say something like really terrible that's like not true or like whatever, or like you can like reply back to the comment or something. And it's like then people would really like see who you're going out with. And it's like people have secret lives from Tinder too. Like this girl that I used to be friends with was dating this guy for like, I don't know, maybe like most like the end of high school and then like beyond. And it was like 2 years after high school they were still dating. Tell me why I go on Tinder and I see his profile. And I'm like, dude. So I screenshot it and I sent it to her. I'm like, this is your boyfriend. She's like, no. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, girl, what do you mean, are you sure? And then she got pissed at me. Yeah. And then everyone got pissed at me. And I'm like, and then that same guy asked me years later, like, did you know if she was cheating? And I'm like, well, you sure as hell were. Why did it matter if she was cheating at that point? You guys cheated on each other left, right, and sideways. But they were happy, you know. Like,
you know, that's that mindset from it's gone on for years, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, you find the room full of, I'll quote, pretty people, right? And they just jump from one to the next to the next to the next.
Yeah.
But that's what they're looking. They want that trophy, right? They want that,
and that quick
but they don't.
fix.
What they don't realize is the trophy could be in, and I call it candy coated, as a candy coated woman, because number one, I love food too, so there's that. Other countries look at me and go, "How do you do that?" Also, I think that there's the personality, the sweetness that goes with it, to come together to make one. Versus a lot of the, and I'll just say once again, the pretty people are me, I, me.
Right.
You want somebody to focus on you.
Right.
And then you want to focus on somebody else. If you guys do that and you do it properly, that relationship becomes a solid rock. It becomes a foundation.
Right. I was going to say a foundation.
Yep.
Because people don't care about building the foundation. They just care about getting to the top of the mountain.
That's right.
Like they skip all the like the dating, the honesty, the like what do we look for in a relationship, and they go to like hooking up, and then it's like then you're sliding down the mountain. Like
that's right.
you get up there and then you're stuck. And that's why like situationships are scary too, because like I saw this podcast, I don't know the name of it, but it's a guy that's on TikTok and a few of his girlfriends, and he said a situationship is everything to one person and nothing to the other. And that like blew my mind, because it's so true. Like 90% of the time the women in a situationship, if it's like a male woman relationship, is like she's gonna think like, well, he'll go out with me, like I'll change his mind, like, you know, like, or we're just taking our time and he's not ready yet, like, and then he's like, oh, I could call her and bang her in 20 minutes and leave. Like, you know, like they don't care. And then it's like you're sitting here caring and like doing everything you can to make that person like you. And a thing that I also had to learn just in therapy and just in general is like, you can't change how someone treats you, but you can change how you respond to it. And it's like they can say left, right, and sideways, like, oh, you know, it's not like that. You know, I like you, like, whatever. It's just not the right time, or I'm doing me right now. Like, whatever excuses come, like, you can stop picking up the phone. It's going to be hard because it's like that addictive, you know, whatever. But you can stop answering. Yeah. You can block them. You can move on, you know, but that's easier said than done. I say that, but then like if my situationship left, I'd be like sobbing on the bathroom floor, like, or like back then when I would have situationships, that's how I'd react. I'm like, because you put all your time and energy into this one person, thinking that they're going to start treating you better than they do, and then you end up disappointing yourself every time.
Well, and it's kind of like, you know, you become the space that you surround yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it kind of matters who's in your network.
Yeah.
And then you meet and connect other people from great people, become more great people. If your network around the wrong people, and let's just say they're teasing you, right? But it's out of fun. But then their friends are going to do the same. Then it becomes mean. And then it just becomes a confidence destroyer. For the person, which is wrong. So it's hard to stand tall, especially if, you know, you feel like you have a flaw, but you're not flawed. What you are is just different. And some people are scared of different, so they don't know how to act or react So if you're around other different people, they're going to introduce you into their world of great people. So be careful about who you network around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like networking around the wrong people a few years ago, and I was like drinking like all the time. And like
Mm.
I don't think I ever had like a problem, but like every weekend I would like get super drunk, like blackout drunk. And then I would like smoke weed with them all the time. It was like every day was like, "Oh, I'll just come over and smoke. I'll just come over and smoke." And
Yeah.
like we'll like go take a drive and we'll smoke. Like it was just constantly like I was like smoking more weed, I was drinking more alcohol, and like I was just like feeling sad and shitty all the time, like all because I was in a situationship with someone who did not care if I lived or died.
Mm.
Who it was like I did everything for them, mothered the absolute shit out of them, did everything but wipe their ass, and they still looked at me like, "Oh, well, what more can you do for me?"
Ugh,
And
that's horrible.
I stayed in that situation for like years. And then once I got out, my idea of being with someone who truly cared, I thought I'd never see the day. And it's like even now, like I'm single now, you know, and I'm like happy single. Like I do have someone who is like kind of like a friends with benefits, but we have like an understanding, you know, like we treat each other with respect. We still hang out regardless of hooking up. Like, and I feel like I'm treated like a person. Cause like you can hook up with somebody and it be like a mutual thing
Mhm.
and respectful, or you can like hook up with someone who treats you like shit and
Right.
like a number. It's like it makes all the difference because it's like with this person, I get treated with respect. I feel beautiful. I feel welcome. I feel like we like laugh and have fun, like, and then I've been with people who like the van guy don't care if I fly out on a fucking traffic and wipes me down with like an old pillow and is
Mm.
like, "Oh, I'll see you later probably," like with them promising to stay. It's like I have someone who does stay, who does stay the night, who hangs out the whole next day, you know. And it's like you can have like a good hookup situation, you just have to be more mindful of who you're choosing to hook up with.
Well, and the ones that are trapped, and that's just it. They feel trapped because
Absolutely.
they're constantly told that they couldn't do better, or
Right.
you'll never, I'm it, and that's it,
Right.
kind of scenario. So they don't want to leave; they're afraid to leave.
Yeah.
And then, especially if it becomes abusive, verbally,
Right.
physically, then they feel like they're really locked down. Now they're really scared.
Yeah.
But it's just like any habit, and then it's what it
Yeah,
is. Any
absolutely.
habit, you have to break it
Right.
to go find yourself. Find out who you are. Find out what you want. Don't let anybody dictate who you are or what you're going to do or who
Absolutely.
you're going to be. If they
Right.
can't accept and respect who you are now, they probably never will.
No,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
It people don't typically change a lot of their behavior. You
Right.
know, like I do believe people can change, people can become better, but I think that takes a lot of reflection, a lot of time, and sometimes I think like a lot of like like professional help, like therapy, and like you know, like it takes a lot to change somebody. And I think that within a few months time, like if you talk to a guy say like January, he comes back in June and says like I've changed, I don't think that's like enough time to like really change. And that's the thing too, is 99% of the time these people come back. Like I'm telling you right now, I do not think I've talked to a single guy that hasn't tried to come back.
Well, I do believe that people change. I've seen it
Yeah.
based on patterns. But I also believe that even if they don't change, but you change, your perception of them might change.
Yeah, that's a
You
really
know,
good point. That's true.
so there's a thousand different ways to Sunday, but as long
Yeah.
as you keep your core values
Yeah.
and don't let people dictate that, it doesn't matter what your perception is. It's
Yeah.
up to you to let them in or not. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's hard to not answer that phone call.
I know.
It's really hard. It's hard to not answer that call. It's hard to not add back on Snapchat. It's hard not to text that person back because you're sitting here and you're like, when you are no contact with someone, like, and you want to be in contact so bad, you like hope for the day.
Yeah.
You like hope for the day they add you back or they text you back or they call you and they're like, I missed you. But it's like, you have to keep reminding yourself of all the times that they treated you like ass, like all the times that you were left alone even when they were around, or the times that they said mean things or did terrible things, or like treated you like you were nothing. Like they're not going to come back and treat you like something, and
Mhm.
even if they try to, you gotta be a better for you.
Yeah.
You gotta like choose you at that point, because it's not like choosing like to be with them or to not be with them. It's like you need to choose, like, are you like going to respect yourself and find someone who truly loves and values you, or are you going to go back to the same situation that hurt you a million times?
Correct.
And it's easier said than done. Like I've gone back to so many guys. Like I have slid back into those DMs like 110 times. Like, I miss you too. Like, take me back. Like, I love you. Like, whatever. And guess what it did for me? I'm still single. Like, I'm still single,
Right.
and like it didn't do anything for me. It made me more upset. And it just led me back to the same dark place that I never left. But then it's like once I started like really working on me and working on my thought patterns and changing my like behavior of like just having the quick fix from a guy in the validation, that's when I started meeting better quality people,
Mhm.
because I was looking for better quality people and I was holding myself to like a higher standard. Because like when you're low self-esteem and you're really insecure, some guy just needs to say like, no, I think you're beautiful. Oh, I think this, like, like, and then you're like, you do? Maybe I am. And then it's like this whole like eye-opening thing of
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, somebody values how I look.
Yep.
Because I've spent 21 years hating my body, and it's like I've done things. I've gone on diets. I've done the whole 9 yards, and there were times I lost a lot of weight. Then there were times I gained it all back. And I hated myself for it, because I was like, why can't I be skinny? Like Barbie always gets the guy. Like, why can't I be skinny? Why can't I be pretty? And it's like, but I am pretty though. And it doesn't matter if I'm not skinny, because like if like there's so much that I have to offer. Like I was watching a podcast last night, the Broski Report with Brittany Broski, and she was talking about how like when you grow up fat, and especially if you're like a fat girl, like you kind of have to like, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like you have to like create like a personality for yourself, like you have to like, God, what's that word? It like starts with a D. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's like
Move the T to get to the D.
right,
Right.
move the T to get to the D. Exactly. You kind of have to like create this like personality for yourself, and you have to like do the things. Oh, God, what is that word? That's like killing me right now. Like that one word means the whole thing, but it's just like you learn to like be different. Like you learn to be funny, and you learn to have a personality, and you learn to like just, I don't know, like just not just rely on your looks. Because like so many people have like the looks.
I call it the UBU concept.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
be you. You don't need to be like other people
Right.
or people that you hang out with. Who are you? You got to find you first,
Yeah.
and you got to love you.
Absolutely.
As a speaker, I usually bring up the fact about owning a mirror. No, that's not just to look at your physical appearance. That's to look at your flaws and who you are and what you do to yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to love the person in the mirror, because how are you going to be around other people or help other people if you can't even do it for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what size you are, color,
Right.
creed you are. It's just about you being you. And the world today, there's a few things that they don't realize or they don't remember. Number one, it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
Number two, just because I don't agree with you means I hate you. Doesn't mean that.
Right.
But that's the way it's working today.
Yeah.
So, a quick story. So my wife, I hooked up with her one night when I first met her, and moved to Arizona the next day. Okay.
Yeah.
And I met her through a friend. It was my friend's sister's friend. Okay. And I moved to Arizona to go live with my cousin. and I'm in Arizona, and I started, doing phone conversations with her, and
Yeah.
yada yada yada. About 6 months go by. I move back. She packs up her stuff and moves with me to Arizona. She wanted to go to culinary school, so she went to culinary school, and we racked up so much debt that we lived there for 6 years together. Now, mind you, her parents barely knew me,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, go." And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay." Um, and listen, we fought like cats and dogs. We went through all of our spells together, but the bonus about it was all we had was each other. I didn't have somebody whispering in my ear. She didn't have people whispering in her ear their opinion about the situation.
Yeah.
So we learned to come together.
Right.
And we're in it 27 years now, married,
Yeah.
2 kids,
Oh, congrats.
and still my best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, not things when the puppy love is over, and that
Yeah.
when you first meet that person, that puppy love is over and true love kicks in, it's when it's hard, not when it's easy.
Right. It's like, how
True
do
love is
we,
there is when it's hard.
right. It's like, how do we get through the hard?
Yep.
Like, how do we do this together? And it isn't just like looking out for you anymore. It's looking out for you and that person.
Correct.
And how can we together get through it?
Correct.
And like create new memories and get through the bad times.
Yep.
Because it's not going to be puppy love forever. I can guarantee that it won't be puppy love forever. But I still think though too, there should be like a buffer period, like the honeymoon phase, where it's like you are still so puppy love and you like really want to like do kissy lovey cuddle whatever, because I feel like if you don't have that and you like start off on the foot of like it's already hard, it's like, okay, but like where was the puppy love? Where was the honeymoon phase?
That's
like,
right.
Because it's like you still gotta enjoy it, and I think what a lot of people fail to do nowadays in relationships is enjoy it and enjoy each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like people end up alone. Which like I've had a fear of like dying alone my entire life. Like I remember being like 8 years old, literally like crying myself to sleep thinking like no man will ever love me. And it's like I can't think like that. Like, and also I'm like not alone. I have so many like
That's right.
friends and family and people that I love that it's like I want to focus on my career and I want to focus like this year on like the podcast and like school and like my 9 to 5 job, like, and like setting the intention of 2024 is like, it's okay if I spend this Valentine's Day alone. It's okay if I spend like more time getting to know me and like dating myself, because a lot of people fail to do that too. It's like you need to be able to be comfortable being alone and like working on your career and your life. And it's like people aren't always going to be there, and people come and go. Like there are guys I thought like if this guy doesn't like love me back or it doesn't work out, it's going to be the end of the world. And guess what? I woke up the next day. The world doesn't set and rise and whatever on this guy's ass. Like
Right.
It's like there are options. There are other people. Like there's sometimes all you need is your girlfriends. It's like, let's go to the club. I'd rather go to the club single than with somebody. Like, I don't want to be like held down sitting there with my boyfriend, like just, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be out. I want to meet people, And it's like,
So for the Hallmark holiday,
yeah.
Valentine's Day, because that's what we're talking about, right? So what is Kelsey's Valentine's perfect date look like?
My perfect Valentine's date. That's a good question. I guess it's so, not to be like, wah, poor me, but like, I've spent like literally every Valentine's Day like single or like not really doing anything. Like last year, I think my mom took me to Chick-fil-A and my mom and stepdad were like, let's do something, because they like felt bad for me, which is like fucked up. Like it was nice that they did that, but I think before I used to hate eating out like at dinner and restaurants in front of a guy. I like hated it. But I think my perfect Valentine's Day date would be like getting flowers, because that's my like favorite thing to get is like flowers. Like even though it's like kind of like a smaller thing, it's like my favorite. I think if the guy picked me up, opened the car door for me, we're like dressed to the nines, he gives me flowers, We go and like have like a really nice dinner together, and then afterward we just hang out, like go home, watch a movie, like get undressed, whatever. Fuck. Sorry, that's
And
terrible.
at the end of the
Yeah.
date, right? Right,
Like,
right.
yeah. But that would probably be it. Just like a nice dinner and then just like come home and like be in our comfies.
Yeah.
And then just like laugh and like, I don't know, eat chocolate covered strawberries and like watch a movie, like just something like that. I just like it traditional for
Yep.
Valentine's Day. Like all this crazy, like, oh, me and my girl are going skydiving. It's like, oh, hell no. Like we're not doing none of that.
Yeah,
like,
there's no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
No.
So since I've been together with my wife, so we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day because we're so busy. We have kids.
Right.
I'll be 50 this year. And so the amount of stress from work that she has that I have. So our perfect date is axe throwing and or rage room.
That's amazing.
And then a movie, and then a home cooked meal, and then maybe some video games it's a TV series we might like, and then it's wash rinse repeat, wake up and start the day all over again, right? But it gets all that aggression out, and you get to do it together.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
it's kind of a neat, unique piece that you can go do. We've gone to the gun range together. Or my wife's badass, man. She's and she's tough and a chef by trade. Doesn't do it anymore, but she's certified. So being Italian from Chicago, our house is we're always foodies. We judge every restaurant we go to, obviously. Right. So we like to stay outside that realm and go do something a little bit different.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's like that's what I love too, is that like everybody has their own like perfect date. Like to my friend Jackie at work, I like love her, and her boyfriend, they're like perfect match. Like I swear I look at their relationship and I'm like, one day I'll have a Jerry, which is her boyfriend. I'm like, one day that'll be me. Like they like go all out for gifts. They like always do something so fun together. They spend all this time together. Like it's like so refreshing to like see a relationship like authentic like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I don't see that anymore. Like
authenticity is, like I said, it's that you got to get through that period of the honeymoon or the puppy love, and when it becomes real. Right. And then when a real tragic time happens, are you there?
Right.
Yes. Let's just say, Bob lost his arms. Is she sticking around?
Right.
Is that love that strong?
Right.
I mean, that's why it's like you got to find, when you're young, you can bounce, right? You're trying to find that right thing, and it's practice for the real thing. Right. All of it. Right. So, and some of those, and I know you said you had some DMs you wanted to go over.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and go through those?
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to read some of my crazy Tinder DMs. And I wish I saved like more of them from the future, like the past, because they get really crazy. But okay. Here's one from Face Dating. I will not share his name, but we'll go through it. He goes, same, doing well. Which I don't know what happened before this, but he said, so are you looking for love, fun, friends, relationship, etc.? I said, not really too sure right now. How about you? Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, agreed. He goes, can I be blunt? Which anytime a man says the words to me over a dating app, can I be blunt? I'm like, no. I'm like, no, I don't want that. And I go, yeah, of course, which I don't know why I was so eager. And he goes, I'd love to give you an orgasm. And then goes, I feel like you've never had a proper one. The fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, so that was one. Let's see. Oh my God. Okay. This guy sent me this on Snapchat. And he goes, you're so sexy. I want to lick every crevice. And I go, excuse me? He goes, can me and my friends run a train on you? Oh, wow. No, you cannot. And this guy had me added for years and never said anything.
Right.
And then just randomly said that. I was like, okay. One guy on Tinder says, and I quote, all caps, please sit on my face. And I did not answer. I was like, I'm good. Here's a good one. Hey, baby girl, can I have your number? Sure. I sent him my number. I said, bro asked for my number and then never texts me and goes, I'm sorry, I'm good. What? You asked for my fucking number. Like, goodbye. And then let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Would you suck my dick under the table at an all-you-can-eat buffet? All I said was, oh? And he goes, it's a yes or no question, babe. I go, maybe.
Sorry, I'm allergic to shrimp.
Yes, that's what I should have
And small
said.
meals don't amuse me.
My dumbass goes, I mean, maybe. which, no, I would not do that.
What kind of buffet is this?
And I ended up asking that. He goes, if I mushroom stamp you, would it sweeten the deal? Which, what is a mushroom stamp? Is that like when a guy like slaps you in the face with his penis?
I'm old, so I got nothing.
Oh, okay. Actually, I forgot I asked what it meant.
Oh,
and I go, what the hell does that even mean? He goes, you have the shape of my dick stamped on your forehead because I smacked you with it.
Oh.
And I go, wow, you learn something new every day. And then I asked him, was it like a nice buffet, like one of those Vegas buffets, or like a Golden Corral? He goes, what's the difference? Bro, what?
So you'd have to get really close to poke me in the forehead? Because,
yeah, right.
You know?
Oh, we had one more submission I forgot about. My friend had said, I swiped on this guy who was super hot, but didn't realize that we matched and he was 1,000 miles away. I asked, why are you so far? And he goes, my mom died. And that was the whole DM. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, sorry for your... I got nothing.
And then she goes, my ex also told me his mom was prettier than me. I hate that dynamic that like when the boy's so like, mommy, like something is like not right there. Like with that dynamic. And then here is the last DM, which is one of my favorites because it's like, what the fuck? So this guy messages me and he's like, hey, like you're super pretty. And I was like, oh, hey, thanks. And he's like, can I have your number? Like, whatever. We're going back and forth. I stop answering. He sends me his number. Hey, like I, for some reason, I only screenshotted like some of it, but he like keeps messaging me and I like keep not answering. And one day he goes, you would look so cute in a glossy purple dress. Out of nowhere. And I'm like, what fetish is this? Because that's the thing too, like what people don't get about like dating plus size, there's like fetish people out there too. Mm-hmm. Who like, I've had a guy message me, shout out this guy Lenny because I'm using his name because he was creepy, but he like messaged me on like Snapchat and was like, oh, I love to like feed you till you can't breathe. Or like something crazy like that. And I was like, what? And so I like unadd him. And then he like messages me on the dating app and goes, sorry, I was drunk last night. I'm like, that's not something you say just when you're drunk. Like he just kept saying like, I just want to keep feeding you till you get fatter. And I was like, oh my God, ew, I can't. So then this guy.
Good job, Lenny.
Yeah, thanks, Lenny. So then this guy goes, what's your number? After the dress comment. I don't answer. Then he goes, when we take photos, do you want to be in front? What photos? What photos is he talking about? And then he goes, hey, would you want to go out for dinner? This is like days later, and I still don't answer. Then he goes, baby. Just baby. And I go, I don't answer. Then he goes, do you have Snap? And then just literally all the time, he'll just like keep messaging me like on the dot, like every few weeks. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, okay. But that's, I think we'll wrap it up. This has been a long special. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to 216 Creator Studios. This will be coming out. This will be our episode for the week. There won't be one for next Monday at 5. We're going to do tomorrow. Well, you'll see us that day. So this will be coming out on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, no matter how you celebrate. And don't forget to share the love to the people around you. Thank you for watching.